me try this. There we go. Okay, so YouTube should be good. All right, let me link it up for you. Just so we have the actual channel here. If it works, let's see. Yeah, thanks for hanging out while I'm doing this too. The restream should be good to go. Let me do one more thing real quick. API Periscope. Hello, Periscope. YouTube is still being weird. But here's the Periscope channel. This might, I mean, I don't know if anybody uses Periscope, but there's a Periscope channel if you're interested. If you are, thank you for checking that out too. Checking it out. I don't know why YouTube is being weird. Recommended 125 bit rate. That's weird. Huh. That's really weird. So anyway, this NASA thing. Out and about in a boathouse. Dude, how cool are boathouses, by the way? I'm just saying, that's a pretty cool thing to live on. So what I usually do is I do Periscope and I do Twitch at the same time through Restream, or YouTube at the same time through Restream. But for some reason, it's not working out quite well with the YouTube. I don't know why. I'm just checking it out, making sure that everything's good. But it seems to be okay. YouTube is... There we go. Here, there you go. That's a long one for you. All right, that seems to be working fine. So basically, I'm going to go back to the topic of space and stuff. So NASA said follow all their social media channels. I can't really list them out because that's a lot of channels to list out. If I were to do a list of all NASA social media channels, Periscope's working. Sweet, thanks, Jimmy. And that would take forever to find them all. And I'm pretty sure, you know, NASA probably has them somewhere. So you just have to look at them, or look for them somewhere. You probably go to NASA. Here we go. Spotthestation.nasa.gov is one, which is really cool. Somebody said, watching the NASA TV stream, the launch abort system seemed to fire sooner than the announcer expected it to. Was that nominal? One of our requirements, says NASA, for the Ascent Abort 2 test was to initiate the abort motor when the vehicle hit maximum aerodynamic pressures. The humidity yesterday caused the vehicle to hit maximum pressure sooner than anticipated, but everything worked as it was supposed to. Cool. So everything's good. Everything is good with the Orion spacecraft so far. And somebody asked, hey, it's Bug Bite 14. That's who's asking this. Hey, I'm currently studying mathematics and was curious if there's a need for mathematicians in NASA. And if so, what do you need us for? NASA said, absolutely. There are many opportunities for math majors in this industry. You could be involved in research, helping to write algorithms for analyzing huge amounts of data, signal processing, etc. There's a long list of what you can do with a math degree. So you just have to determine what interests you. So yeah, man, if you're a mathematician, there's no better place to work than NASA. Like, how cool is it? Not only cool, but what kind of stepping stone would that be? If you don't decide to work at NASA forever, like if you want to go to NASA for a little bit and then go someplace else, like how cool is that on your resume? Like, that's the coolest thing on your resume. It's one of the best things you could ever have on your resume is, oh yeah, I worked at NASA. So anybody who's a mathematician out there and is wondering if NASA is a good place for you, go for it. Even if you're not a mathematician, seriously, NASA could use anybody. They have a place for everybody. They do a lot of different things. It's not just, you don't have to be a nerd or a geek or anything like that in order to work at NASA. You can work at NASA. You can do something like I do. Like, you could just talk to people. That would be a great thing to do at NASA. They have people at NASA that are broadcasters, and they teach people stuff. So that's part of the thing. They're science communicators. They have to talk to people and spread the message of science to people. So yeah, that's what would be really cool, right? Like, that's a really, really cool job. Dream job? I would say so. Sometimes, you can luck into things. I've lucked into a bunch of dream jobs in my life. Like, I don't know, a lot of things that I was passionate about, a lot of things that I was really happy about. And another stepping stone in my life, another achievement in my life would be to work at NASA or work with NASA. I work with them a little bit through this podcast. I work with them. I'm basically a journalist, talk to them, and work with their media outlets. So, like, that's a pretty cool thing. I don't get any money for it. Like, NASA doesn't pay me for it, but how cool is it that I get invited to like, press things? Like, even if it's just a call in, like, that's the freaking coolest thing ever. Just saying. I cannot complain. I can't complain. Nothing to complain about there. Thanks for that follow. Appreciate it. Yeah, and if you like stuff like this, if you like space, science, and tech stuff, make sure to follow the channel because I do it every single day. I'm doing it more live on YouTube now too, which I'm really stoked about. Doing it more on Twitch too. Like, the Twitch thing was just a test tonight. I wasn't sure if I want to do it or not. So I'm kind of leaning towards getting YouTube going, because YouTube, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys, YouTube makes me personally more money than Twitch ever did. Twitch made a little bit when I was playing games on it, but YouTube continuously makes money, and I don't do this for money. Like, for real, I don't do this for money. I do this because I love to do it. If I did it for money, I would be broke. I do it for a living. This is what I do, and I do this on the regular podcast for a living. But I don't make enough to, don't make enough to thrive, I guess. Like how some people are like, oh yeah, I make, like Joe Rogan, somebody like that, who makes like 1 million downloads per episode or whatever, and then 500,000 views to 1 million views on YouTube. Holy crap, dude's making bank. But yeah, you can make enough money to survive and do something you love. That's all you need to do. Teach me. Just do it, man. Like, it's like anything else. If you're passionate about it and if you really love it, go for it. Just crank it out. Get so much content out there, good quality content, that nobody can deny you what you earned. So me, I kind of lucked into this. I did this because I was passionate about it and I wanted to have fun doing it. I was a web developer for 15 years, something like that. And fortunately for me, I had a really good job last year. And I put a little bit of money away. And then at the end of last year, I was like, I'm just going to try this, see what happens. If I can make enough money to survive, that's all I need. Shoestring budget. Like this mic right here. It's because Patreon patrons. It's because my ads. That's why I got it. That kind of stuff. I had my gaming PC from my other job, so that works out for the stream. So that's great. But the fact that, if you want to do it, if it's something that you love, just go for it. Do it whenever you can, however you can. Make great episodes. work on it, work on your technique. I don't have great technique. I just talk about stuff. I'm just a dude. Literally, like, I'm just a dude. I'm just like everybody else. I just happen to have a passion for everything that I'm doing. Job ending, taking a chance. Yeah, dude, totally. Jibby. Yeah, that's what it was. It was my job was coming to a close. My contract was up, and I was just like, you know what? F it. I'm going for it. Thanks, Mason. I appreciate it, man. I will follow this. I'll follow this through. In November, there's going to be a launch from NASA in Florida. It's a SpaceX launch, and I'm going to go to it because why the F not? It's one of the things that I've been dreaming about since I was a little kid. I used to live in Orlando, and I never went to a rocket launch. Never went to a shuttle launch. Never went to any of that stuff. So why wouldn't I do it now? It's going to cost a lot of money. And because I'm doing this for, a little bit of cash, not much, I've always asked, like, hey, if you like the show, make sure to hit me up on Patreon, or even just watch all my YouTube videos, or listen to all the podcasts. The old podcast really helps. Like, every single ad that plays on those old podcasts makes me like just a little bit of money, which will help for the gas money to get there, and that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much all I can ask from anybody. Oh, you saw a launch in Orlando? Nice. That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, I used to live, actually not in Orlando. I lived in Apopka. I just say Orlando because it's closer. Like, everyone knows where Orlando is. So, it was close, but I never got the chance to go down there, which is silly. Like, that's just dumb. I lived in West Palm Beach too, and that's a little bit further away, but I could have made the drive. I made the drive to Tampa from West Palm, so I could have made it from West Palm down to the Space Coast and seen a rocket launch, but I didn't. It was one of those things where I was too invested in my career and doing other things, so I just didn't do it. But now's the time. Might as well. Got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. So, yeah, the fact that, like, all this stuff is kind of happening at once is really great. It's all sort of coming together. Let's see. NASA. Let's see, 1 second here. Ooh, let me go back to this NASA thread. Has Lockheed Martin designed, built any components that will be used in the mission on the moon? If so, do you have renderings of it? Ooh, the Starlink. Okay, let me answer this question real quick, and let's get into Starlink for a second. So, has Lockheed Martin made anything that's going to be used on the actual surface of the moon? NASA said NASA's mission to the moon are currently in the proposal phase, so several companies are working through their proposals right now. Lockheed is the prime contractor on Orion, of course. They're always the prime contractor for this stuff, and the Orion vehicle will be used to take the astronauts to the Lunar Gateway, says Alex Flanagan. Now, SpaceX's Starlink constellation. Starlink is a space satellite constellation. A bunch of satellites in space that will be beaming internet from the sky to a pizza box sized piece of hardware. High speed, super high speed internet for rural areas. You might be able to get it in cities and congested areas, but they're going to be focusing on rural areas to begin with. And from there, they're going to work on, getting it bigger and better. So Starlink, there's thousands of satellites, little kind of like briefcase-sized satellites that will be beaming this internet, and they're kind of cluttering up the sky. Now, SpaceX has been working with astronomers and professionals to kind of tilt the satellites so you can't really see them when they zoom by. Because when they're low, like, they all start pretty low and then they shoot themselves up into a higher orbit. You can see them from the ground. You can see them if they fly over your head. You can look on, what is this thing called? It's Starwalk? Yeah, Starwalk. The app Starwalk. You can look on it, and you can see where the SpaceX constellation is. But, you know, something like, you know, you have a telescope in your backyard, and you're trying to do some astrophotography, or you're out in the desert somewhere, and you're trying to photograph Jupiter, and 100 satellites fly over your head at once. A big swath of satellites blanket the sky where you're taking the photo or where you're taking the video. It ruins your shot. It ruins everything. And that's just a very brief recap of what it's going to do. It's called Starwalk, Joseph. Starwalk 2 is the newest one, I believe. That's the one I use, Starwalk. And I have it on iOS. I believe it's available on Android as well. So this constellation of satellites will block out a big portion of the sky if they don't spin them properly, like orient them properly when they're in orbit. And they're working hard to get the satellites to a place where they won't be able to be seen. Now that's going to be tough because there's a lot of them. And though they're, you know, right now there's really not a way for us to kind of judge how many will be seen at once, because I think there's only 60 right now, something like that. I can't remember exactly the number, but it's somewhere around there. But it's a decent amount right now. So imagine if there's 12,000 of them or 20,000 of them, and they get shifted up into orbit, 20,000 satellites flying over your head. Not all at once. They're going to be spaced apart, of course, but it's still, like you'll see when zoom over, you can see big satellites in orbit. If you look up, you know, if it's a dark night and there's no interference, no clouds or anything, and you can see satellites. You got to go to a dark sky site, you know, go to someplace where there's no street lights, no city lights. Lay down a blankie for a little while and just look up. You'll see little tiny dots moving every once in a while. They'll move across the sky. And you'll know they're satellites because they're not blinking like an aircraft, and they're kind of small. And they go like one trajectory. They don't have blinky lights or anything. They just one solid light, like one little white dot, and it goes across the sky. Very faint. A lot of them are very faint, but if it's really dark, you can see them pretty well once your eyes get adjusted to it. Now, if there's 1,000 of those going across at once, you know, one right after another, they're in the same orbit, possibly. That's going to be a weird thing to see in the sky, because that's never happened before in human history. Oh yeah, the ISS, man, it's amazing. Just recently, I checked out Spot the Station from NASA. Search for that, by the way, if you want to look for the space station. Search for Spot the Station, and you can see where the station's gonna, or when the station's gonna fly over your head, which is pretty amazing. But there are people out there that don't even think that the space station's still a thing. I've talked to a couple of people, and they're like, "Oh, that's still up there." And I'm like, "Yeah, what do you think happened to it?" They're like, "Oh, we thought it deorbited or whatever, or it blew up, or, you know, burnt up or whatever." I'm like, no, they still work on it. It's just that the news doesn't care anymore. So it's unfortunate that thing kind of happens, but that's what I'm here for, is to help people that are interested in those kind of things. Even if they're not interested. Oh, ISS detector for Android. That's cool. I'll have to check that out. What if it's for iOS? But yeah, people that are interested or are just have like a very basic interest in like science and tech, you know, maybe somebody's going to be out there that would, you know, be interested in this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's why we do this kind of thing. That's why you have these chats. You know, that's why we're on YouTube, and we're also on Periscope and every place else right now too. So I'm really pumped that we're doing really well on these platforms, and especially on Livecast. Man, this is great. I love this place. So I'm a big fan, big fan. And I'm working on more live shows. I was going to do one last night, and then I was like, wait, man, it's the 4th of July. Because I got all this stuff done yesterday, like all this stuff behind me. You can't see it on the radio show, of course, or on the live show, but on the video on YouTube, you can see it's like there's just little pins that are holding up this studio stuff behind me. But I'm working on getting it properly posted up. I'm just kind of like figuring out as I go what the big deal is, you know, what the how I should be putting. Like there's a spot right over here to my left that I should definitely put some more pads on, some more acoustic treatments, and you know, some more stuff for the studio. But that's just kind of one of those things that it's going to happen over time. Now, let's go back to some NASA news. I like these conversations we have too. I like open conversations, and I like when you guys ask questions. So if you have any questions, make sure to let me know. And also, if you haven't followed and you're like these kind of conversations, make sure to follow so you get notifications when I go live, so you can come in here and chat and hang out. Is it possible at the future for NASA to collaborate with other private organizations also attempting to go to the moon and Mars, i.e. NASA and SpaceX working together? NASA said, our plans for returning to the moon do include partnering with private organizations, for example, the Lunar Gateway, the Gateway lander, using commercial rockets to launch gateway components and logistical support. And then somebody said underneath, the next comment was, you guys are just dead set on this gateway boondoggle, huh? Which I think the gateway is a weird thing. I think it's really cool. And I think there's specific things they can do with it that they wouldn't be able to do if they just launched people to the moon. The gateway is a way for us to have a presence near the moon at all times. The gateway is basically a space station that orbits the moon. And the gateway will harbor people on their way to the moon and from the moon back to Earth. There's experiments that'll be done there to help astronauts live and work on the moon surface. So the gateway is important. It's a weird thing, and it's kind of strange that, you know, NASA is really pushing for it because they know the importance of us working on new projects that have never been done before. So I think it's really important that they get this done, but it's also like we've never done that before. We've only sent people to the moon. We've had lunar orbiters, right? As astronauts are down on the lunar surface, they dock with a ship in orbit, and then they launch back to Earth. Cool. Now we're going to have a permanent one. This is really cool. So we can have people working up there for an extended amount of time, as opposed to just one moon mission at a time. So that's really interesting. I'm pretty pumped about that. Now let's go on to the next one, which is, let me get here. Would the vehicle being ejected be violent? What would the occupants expect to go through physically? I could imagine it would be an incredibly brutal experience. This is the Orion capsule. In an abort scenario, and the Orion capsule is the one that they're going to be sending to the moon. For about 4 seconds, the astronauts will experience approximately 14 Gs. The astronaut seats and restraining systems were designed with this in mind. Though that is a lot of force the astronauts will feel, it is what's necessary in a scenario when the abort system needs to get them away from the Space Launch System as quickly as possible. The Space Launch System rocket is huge. Huge. Let's see a comparison. Let's see how big this thing's going to be in comparison. Just looking it up. There's a comparison thing here. There it is. Okay. Space Launch System. SLS Block 1. 98.1 meters tall. Falcon Heavy, which is SpaceX's big rocket right now, 70 meters tall. So it's going to be 98.1 meters, 28.1 meters bigger than the Falcon Heavy. That's a huge rocket. The New Glenn, which is Blue Origin's rocket, just gets bigger than the SLS. This is the SLS Block 1, by the way. New Glenn is 99 meters. The Block 1 SLS is 98.1. So it's 0.9 meters bigger than the SLS. USSR's N1 rocket, though, is bigger than the SLS, Block 1. Saturn V is bigger than that, which is 110 meters. And the SLS Block 2 cargo is 111.3 meters. They're all very close. And then SpaceX, the BFR, 118 meters. Huge, huge rocket. The biggest. The biggest rocket. Only the best. Yeah, so it's absolutely immense. Humongous, humongous rocket. So, yeah, it's going to be a gigantic launch system. So the astronauts, when they're going to the moon, if something were to happen, so if something were to break, if something were to go weird on the launch, they need to get away from that thing. If part of it started blowing up on its way out of the launch system, on its way out of Earth, something has to trigger sensors to launch these people away from the rocket so they don't get hurt. Right? So if the rocket explodes, if something happens, if one of the boosters malfunctions and the sensors pick it up and the sensors go, oh, alert, oh crap, we got to get these guys away from here. And then they launch these people away from the rocket. For 4 seconds, they'll be in 14 Gs. It's 14 times the normal gravity that's on Earth. And they'll black out. You can't resist that. It's 14 Gs, and it's going to happen instantaneously. So you won't even really know it's going to happen. You might get some alert, like a beacon or an alarm real quick, and then you're going to get popped out of that rocket, and then they're going to black out. They're not going to be awake. You know, they're definitely going to black out. Lando, yeah, they're gonna black out. You're right. You can't fight it. It's just gonna happen. So that's pretty cool, though, man. And they're gonna come to, it's all automated. The system, the escape system is all automated. So when they do blackout, they'll come to and they'll be safely landed on the surface with parachutes. That's the plan. You know, that's the whole plan. It's like, hey, man, it's like when you see fighter jets, the dudes pull either, you know, near their crotch or near their head, they pull that, the ejection thing, right? But this is going to do it automatically. It's autonomous. It's going to work on its own. The astronauts don't have to do anything because they won't be able to. They won't have the time. Lando, oh, you've been space and science your whole life. Yes, that's awesome. Good. Yeah, same here, man. I've been interested in this stuff since I was born, I think. You know, ever since I was a little kid, I've always been into this kind of stuff. Really cool. Hi team, thanks for doing this. This is another question for NASA. Pip don't squeak. Asks, hi team, thanks for doing this and for your hard work on this project. Where do you anticipate difficulties with the test flight? How does the Orion's abort system differ from prior spacecraft? NASA said the Ascent Abort 2 test was conducted successfully yesterday, and Orion incorporates a launch abort system that pulls the capsule away from the rocket using engines at the top of the LAS. This pull system on Orion utilizes heritage design from Apollo's launch escape system. So basically, they're using old tech from Apollo from the 60s, 70s, which, you know, it works. If it works, you don't need anything else. A pull system can deliver the thrust and speed needed to outrun the powerful SLS rocket and get the crew to safety in the event of an emergency during launch. Orion's LAS eliminates unwanted mass on the way to the moon by jettisoning the entire LAS when it is no longer needed after a successful and safe launch. So basically, these astronauts are going to be very, very safe at this launch. Saturn is the dwarf planet, right? Is that what you're saying? I just looked that up, by the way. I wanted to sound cool. I just looked it up. Saturn is a dwarf planet on the far outer reaches of the solar system. Saturn is a solar system body that is one of the most distant bodies found in our solar system. I've heard of it, but I wasn't familiar with it. The object closest approach to the sun is far greater than Pluto's distance away from Earth, at a spot where the sun is so tiny, according to NASA, that you could blot it out with a pin. It's that far away. You think the UFOs Navy's reporting on Fox News isn't ours? People see a lot of weird things, and I know Navy pilots are and people are trained to see specific things. We see jets all the time, we see satellites all the time, and we see weird anomalies sometimes. I was literally driving down the highway, like near my house. I was driving to the store, and I saw a bright flash of light in the sky, and I was like, that's not normal. And I also saw, and I don't believe in UFOs. I don't believe. Why would they? Okay, so why would aliens come to our stupid little planet? Right? Why would they come to our planet and probe us? And why would they keep it a secret? Why is this why is it all a big secret? That's the thing that I don't get. Just say, like, hey man, we're here. That's it. It's possible it's from the future. And if that's the case, why don't those people say, hey, we're here? Just come forward and say, hey, we're here. We're from the future. We can help you. Do you want to get messed up? Okay, these are the things you can do to not mess it up. But if they're future travelers, that'll ruin the timeline. The timeline that we're in right now. If the future travelers come back and they say, okay, let's divert this path that we're on right now and do this other thing, so the path that we're on now gets changed. But is that the right path if the future travelers come back here and change the future? But is that supposed to be the timeline? If the future travelers come back and change it, is that the way it's supposed to be? Does that make the future travelers because they changed the timeline? Or do the future travelers never come into existence because they changed the timeline? What happens when they divert the train? Our timeline is the train, and it diverts onto another track. Where does it go? Where does it end up? The future people might be, and I'm just saying hypothetically, because time travel, we don't know if it exists. According to our physics right now, possibly we could go back in time. It's already happened, so there's a timeline. But future hasn't happened yet. So we don't know what's going on in that. So I'm just saying this hypothetically. What if the future people come back and steer us in a direction that will destroy the world? Right? The future hasn't happened yet, so we don't even know who these people are. What happens when these future people tell us, or when they meet our leaders? Why would they meet the leaders? Take me to your leader. Like, that was the 1950s trope or whatever, 1940s. Why do they need to see their leader? Can't they just be like, hey, we're really highly advanced. We're going to make our presence known. We don't need to hide behind the shadows of all these governments, the leaders. Yeah, land on the White House lawn. Land on the Kremlin. These things have been happening. Aliens and spacecraft have been happening forever. There's been, I believe there's been, quote, sightings of them in the Bible, what people think are aliens. But it's, and think about this. When did aliens, quote, aliens, the ones that we know of now, become a thing? Is it only after science fiction movies started? Is that when people started seeing aliens and started reporting them? Is it after it got stuck in their head that these little green men and these shiny robots come to attack us? Dude, and how crazy is that, Jimmy, that we're on this gigantic, heavy orb that's spinning around at vast amounts of speed, orbiting the sun, and we have a moon that's orbiting us, and we don't feel it. We don't feel any of it. It's just what it is. Like, we know it happens, but it's just so huge. It's such a huge thought that we don't really realize it at all times. Like, you don't walk outside and you go like, whoa, the earth is spinning, Yeah, and the sun orbits. Yeah, exactly. We're all orbiting the center of the galaxy. Everything is. We're all spinning around the galaxy. And then the galaxy, there's other galaxies out there. There's other galaxies that have billions of planets. There's billions of planets out there. Billions of stars. And we only know about a certain amount of them because we haven't even checked them out yet. We haven't even seen them with our instruments. So if you want to blow your damn mind, just look up in the sky at night. Every star that you see has planets around it, probably. Just imagine every star that you see has 5 planets around it, even 2 planets around it. Those are planets that could possibly harbor life. Now, when I'm saying that there's no UFOs out there, I think the UFOs, the ones that people think are UFOs, people, I think they have something wrong with their heads. But I'm not saying that it's not possible. You got to keep it open. You got to keep it open. Even though I can't say that there's no such thing as a creator. Because even though I don't believe that there's, a Christian God or any sort of God like that, you don't know what happened before the Big Bang. We don't know. We can't look back that far. The observable beginning of our universe isn't observable. Like, past that, that's it. That's it. Jimmy, a planet for every human. Yeah, that would be sweet. Watch some Star Trek, Jimmy. That's awesome. Yeah, man. Watch some Enterprise with that sweet intro music. It's been a long road. Worst Star Trek music ever. Worst Star Trek music. That's all I gotta say. But it's a great show. Have fun, Jimmy. Enjoy. Star Trek's great. Yeah, that song's gonna be in your head for like 3 days now. Think of our reality being a type of holographic universe model. The only thing I can think about that, Lando, is that if our universe is a holograph, when did the idea of a holograph start becoming a thing? It's possible. I'm never going to say something's not possible, right? But this holograph thing, it's pretty recent because people are like, oh, holographs are a thing now. Maybe the universe is a holograph. My dog just whined. I don't know why she's whining. What do you want, buddy? You know, so um, yeah, the idea that, you know, it's a holograph is pretty recent, and it's only because we have the technology of like holograms and AR and things like that that people are like, oh, by the way, could this be a holograph? Are we not here? Is this all a weird thing that some other alien species with better technology? Are we like The Sims? Are we a computer? Are we a game to somebody? It's because people play freaking video games all the time, myself included. How cool would it be if you were controlling the universe? That's all it is. That's all it is. People are like, oh, cool, I've got a universe simulator now. That's what people think. So those kind of things are weird. Are a weird idea. What's up, Brendan? On YouTube, how you doing, man? Biologically simulated, right? Yeah, we're on Castbox right now too, Brendan. We're checking out the live stream over there. So welcome to the show, Brendan. I appreciate it. This is the first live show that I've actually done on YouTube with my camera on in a while, so thank you for checking it out. So if we do have a simulated universe, if it is a video game, when did that start? Like, when was the idea of a video game? Come on. It's because all of us, my age, were brought up on video games. Come on. Doesn't make any sense. There you go, Brendan. There's a link for you, buddy. It's because we know about video games. Like, how cool would it be though if like you could just control all these people? It's because we all played those games, like you know, like The Sims or Red Alert or some Command and Conquer games where you could build a civilization, you know, when we were kids. So I'm an adult now, so I still play them. But it's like, dude, that's where the idea came from. I think that's where the idea came from. Consciousness is still a mystery until we crack it completely. We can't prove anything. Yeah, exactly. We can't prove it 100%. I agree. And it's Brendan, by the way, that's only audio on Castbox. It's a regular podcast. It's a live cast. If you want to see my beautiful face, I'm on YouTube. Also here's the live for YouTube if anyone's interested checking that out. I'm going to be doing that every night too, on YouTube and on Castbox and on Periscope every night, because I think it's cool to be on YouTube. I just made this cool studio, and you know, I just might as well use it, right? Might as well use it. I've got a camera, whatever. I got this light here that brightens up my face, makes me look really good. Cool, thanks, man. Yeah, so the fact that all these weird things are happening, like it's a holograph, like it's a hologram. Okay, new technology. We're near, like we've seen that in movies, right? We've seen it in shows. Holograms, video games. It's technology. We're scared of technology, so what if we are technology? People are like, okay, we're gonna make this into a thing that we're used to, so we don't so we're not as weirded out by it. Basically, we're not as weirded out by something that we're familiar with. So what if we're being controlled by something in a video game? How cool would that be? It would suck. It would suck. I don't want to be part of a video game. I want to break out of this thing. Oh, I don't have VR, man. VR is awesome, but I don't have any VR setups quite yet. I plan on getting one eventually, but they're kind of expensive, and I don't have a PlayStation or Xbox, so I'd have to hook it up to my PC. Right, break out of the Matrix, dude. That's all you got to do. You got to break out of the Matrix. You know, I'm gonna start. So what I'm gonna do from this cast forward, this is what I'm noticing right now. is that on the video on my YouTube channel, nobody sees what you guys are saying on livecast. So on my video, I'm going to make sure that everybody sees what's going on in livecast. So Brendan, if you're watching on YouTube, anybody else who's watching on YouTube, tomorrow I'll have that set up so you can see what's going on over on livecast. So you can see people checking out the stream and seeing what they're commenting on and seeing what they're chatting about. So I'm going to make it all-inclusive. Everybody's going to be part of this thing. Same with Periscope. I don't know how to do it yet, but I'll try to funnel it in somehow. And, you know, I'll figure it out for tomorrow. So it should be pretty cool. And, you know, I got a lot of stars tonight. So thank you so much for everybody who's been helping out the show. Super Chat is open on YouTube as well. Thank you for the new follows on Castbox, on Livecast. Appreciate that. We got 3 new fans tonight. Thank you so much. And we're working on more and more and more. We have 445 likes, 232 stars. Working on 1,500 stars. That's the goal. 1,500 stars. And I'm going to start doing some cool stuff like that on my YouTube channel, just so everybody knows that, like, this is going to be a thing. It's going to be a thing in the future. YouTube here, all going to be available at all times for everybody, because I got it all set up. Finally. It took me a little while, but I got it all set up. So, yeah, anybody who's on Periscope. I'm not sure how many people are actually on Periscope. So, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue doing Periscope or if I'm just going to do YouTube and Livecast. I might just do it everywhere just because I can. About 2 people on Periscope altogether. There's not many people on Periscope. Not knocking Periscope. I'm just saying. So I think I'm going to call it for the night, guys. I have to go out and I have to let my dogs, or let my sister's dogs out. I'm watching her dogs, so I have to let her dogs out. And I have to do some stuff outside of the studio. But tomorrow I will be doing some more YouTube stuff. So if you want to watch on there, cool. If you want to listen on Livecast, cool. Periscope too. But what's up, LT Bear? How you doing? I appreciate all of the stars. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for all of the support. Thank you for the like, Tanvir. Appreciate it. My GoFundMe, I'm working on getting down to NASA headquarters, basically, to watch a Crew Dragon launch in November. Here's that. That's the GoFundMe, just in case you're interested. Thank you. We already have somebody helping out. Blake helped out with that so far. He gave $50, so I appreciate that, Blake. I hit him up, said, Blake, you are the man. Thank you so much for all that. Where's the launch? Not really sure exactly where they're going to be launching it, but they are going to be launching in Florida. They're going to be launching at NASA. So not sure which launch pad, though, because they're still working on the details of everything. The tentative date, November 15th. Of course, it's going to be, you know, Kennedy Space Center, that area. Could be Cape Canaveral. Could be SpaceX Launch Complex 40. Not quite sure where it's going to be, which complex it's going to be. But it's going to be awesome, and I already have a filmer, so it's all going to be on YouTube after that. And I'm going to be live casting it, and I'm going to be casting it on YouTube as I do the trip. So get over to YouTube, make sure that you follow so you can check that out as I go. That's a live channel, by the way. But the channel is available through there. So thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate everything from everybody. Can't thank you enough. I will be gone for now, but I will be back tomorrow. And until then, thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend it here with me on the Space News Live Pod. And I will see you soon, my friends. Have a good night or day. wherever you are in the universe. Thank you, YouTube, for all the support. Thank you, Brendan, for hanging out. And I will see you soon.